All right, we've got an incredible story for you today. We're heading back to the ancient plains of Moab for a tale that involves a nervous king, a talking donkey, and a really powerful idea that, still hits home thousands of years later.
So think about this for a second. Could you actually use words, just words, as a weapon to stop the destiny of an entire country? I mean, it sounds like something straight out of a fantasy story, doesn't it?
Well, for one ancient king, this was no fantasy. It was his actual, desperate, last resort strategy. We're going back in time, to the plains of Moab, where a huge showdown is about to happen. But this one won't be fought with swords or shields.
And this whole confrontation, it kicks off not with a battle cry, but with pure paralyzing fear. This is a king's desperate plan.
King Balak of Moab. He looks out and sees the Israelites camped out, and he is just terrified. The text says he was sore afraid. He feels totally outmatched, outnumbered, and he's convinced his entire kingdom is about to be wiped off the map.
So Balak decides he's going to fight fire with something else entirely. He goes for a supernatural weapon, a curse, which sets up this really strange conflict. You got King Balak, who's putting all his chips on a magic spell, and on the other side, you got the Israelites who are protected by a divine blessing they might not even fully realize they have.
So Balak's plan gets very specific. He sends for this guy, Balaam, who's basically a famous prophet for hire living far away. The idea is simple. Pay this spiritual mercenary whatever he asks, get him to a mountaintop, and have him lay down a curse so powerful it'll cripple the Israelites from miles away.
But there's a huge snag. Before Balaam can even pack his bags, he gets a direct message from God, and it is completely unambiguous. You will not curse these people because they are blessed. The very thing Balak is afraid of is confirmed right here. It's real and it's irreversible.
But even with that crystal clear warning, the promise of a king's riches, it's just too tempting. And so begins a prophet's perilous journey, which turns into a serious test of who he's really listening to.
So what does he do? He saddles up his donkey and heads toward Moab anyway. And you can just feel the tension building, right? He's knowingly going against a divine order. And in these stories, that sort of thing never, ever goes unnoticed.
On the road, an angel, totally invisible to Balaam, stands in the way with a drawn sword. 3 times his donkey sees the deadly threat and saves his life. The first time, it bolts into a field. The second time, it swerves and squishes Balaam's foot against a wall. The third time, there's nowhere to go, so it just lies down in the middle of the path.
And this brings us to probably the most famous part of this whole story, the donkey's divine sight. The incredible irony here is that the prophet, the seer, is the one who's totally blind to what's happening. All he knows is his donkey is suddenly being incredibly difficult.
So he's frustrated, he's probably embarrassed, his foot is throbbing, and he just loses it. For each time the donkey saved his life, he hits the poor animal with his staff. Here's this great seer, completely oblivious to the supernatural drama playing out right in front of his face.
And then, right when Balaam is at his angriest, something absolutely impossible happens.
The donkey speaks. It actually turns to its master and says, "What have I done to you that made you hit me these 3 times?" In that instant, it's like a switch flips. Balaam's eyes are opened, he sees the angel with the sword, and it all clicks. The so-called prophet was blind, and his donkey saw the truth the whole time.
So, after all that humbling chaos on the road, Balaam finally gets to Moab. The moment of truth has arrived, and it's all set up for a massive plot twist. A complete flip from curse to blessing.
Just try to picture this scene. King Balak has built these elaborate altars, he's made all the sacrifices, and he's brought Balaam up to this high overlook. He has spent a fortune and is ready to get the curse he paid for. But Balaam, having learned his lesson the hard way, now knows he can only say what God tells him to say.
And what comes out of his mouth is not a curse at all, but this powerful, defiant declaration. He looks at the horrified king and basically says, "Look, God isn't a person who changes his mind. He has blessed these people, and there is absolutely nothing I can do or you can do to reverse it. It's done."
Well, Balak is furious. He drags Balaam to another mountain, as if a change of scenery is going to help. But it just gets worse for him. Balaam opens his mouth again and delivers another blessing. This one a straight-up prophecy. He talks about a star and a scepter that will rise out of Israel, a clear foretelling of a future great ruler.
So after all of that, the terrified king, the talking animal, the blessings that wouldn't stop, what's the bottom line? What does it all really mean? It all points to one central idea: an unstoppable purpose.
Let's just boil it down. A king's fear drove him to hire a spiritual hitman. That prophet got a reality check from his own donkey. The curse that was supposed to happen got spectacularly flipped into a blessing that couldn't be undone. The whole story is a massive illustration of this one theme, that a divine purpose, once it's set in motion, can't be derailed by any outside scheme.
So, the story makes it clear that this blessing was completely safe from any outside attack. No enemy scheme could touch it. But that leaves us with a much more challenging question, doesn't it? What happens when the danger isn't coming from the outside? What if a blessing can be lost not because of an enemy's curse, but because of the choices we make from within? And that's definitely something to think about. Thanks for joining us for this explainer.